They told me to buy a bigger house to fit my golden brother's family because apparently my success should benefit them first. So I made a quiet purchase. They knew nothing about it. The day they showed up, I heard screaming from the driveway. How the hell are we supposed to fit in this? Some people say blood is thicker than water, but I learned early that favoritism runs thicker than both. I'm Marjorie, 34, living in Austin, Texas. Not bad for a kid who grew up being told she was too stubborn for her own good. But let me rewind to where this all started. The day my brother James was born when I was 4. From that moment on, I might as well have been invisible unless they needed something from me. James has always been what you'd call a natural charmer. 3 years younger, handsome in that effortless way that gets you through life without trying, and blessed with the kind of confidence that only comes from never hearing the word no. Our parents, Patricia and Robert, treated him like he was made of gold from day one. I remember being 11 and saving up for months from my babysitting jobs to buy this digital camera I'd been wanting. Cost me $93. A fortune for a kid. James saw it, decided he wanted one too, and boom. Mom and Dad bought him the deluxe version for $350 the next day. When I asked why I had to save for months while James got his instantly, Dad just shrugged and said, "James is going through a tough time with his grades." He needed something to boost his confidence. That became the family motto. Marjorie's fine on her own, but James needs extra support. Christmas morning was always like watching two different families. James would have this mountain of presents. The latest Xbox, designer sneakers, expensive baseball equipment he'd use maybe twice. My pile was always smaller, filled with practical gifts. Art supplies, books, savings bonds that I couldn't even touch until I turned 18. The worst part wasn't the gifts though. It was the praise. James could bring home a D- and get a celebration dinner at Olive Garden because he tried really hard this semester. I'd bring home straight A's and honor roll certificates and get a nod with, "That's nice, Marjorie," before they immediately shifted to asking James about his day. By middle school I started noticing the pattern everywhere. James broke Mom's favorite ceramic vase playing football in the house. Accidents happen, sweetie. I accidentally spilled grape juice on the white carpet. 20-minute lecture about being more careful and losing television privileges for a week. James got caught cheating on a math test. Mom marched down to the school to argue with the teacher about how the test was unfair and James was just struggling with test anxiety. I forgot to turn in one assignment. "Marjorie, you're so irresponsible. How are you going to succeed in life if you can't handle simple tasks?" The double standard was so obvious that even my friends started commenting on it. My best friend Sarah once asked me why my parents treated James like he was made of glass while expecting me to handle everything perfectly. I didn't have an answer then. Do now. By high school I'd figured out the game. I wasn't going to win the favorite child competition, so I focused on building something they couldn't take away from me. I got into business and economics early, started learning about investments, built my first stock portfolio with money from my part-time job at the local bookstore. While James was partying and barely maintaining a 2.3 GPA, I was pulling down a 3.8 and planning my escape route. I started my own tutoring business at 16, helping struggling students with math and science. Within a year, I had 15 regular clients and was making more money than most adults in part-time jobs. James couldn't even maintain his summer job at the community pool for more than 2 weeks because it interfered with his social life. The real wake-up call came during college planning. James wanted the full experience at University of Texas. 4 hours away, expensive dorms, meal plans, the works. Kid had never held a job in his life but wanted to study communications because it sounded easy. And of course Mom and Dad were all for it. Me. I'd gotten into UT Austin with a partial scholarship for business administration. Solid school, tough program, and I could commute from home to save money. Seemed responsible, right? Well, the day I told them my plan, Mom hit me with a financial bomb that changed everything. "That's wonderful, Marjorie," Mom said when I explained I'd commute to save money. "But if you're staying here, you'll need to contribute to household expenses. We'll need $850 a month for your room and board." I literally laughed. Thought she was joking. $850 a month. I was working part-time at a financial planning office, making $9 an hour. That would be over 23 hours a week just to pay rent to my own parents. Mom, James's entire college experience is going to cost you guys like $38,000 a year. I'm trying to save you money by staying home. Her face went cold. James needs our support to succeed in college. You've always been self-sufficient. This will teach you responsibility. Dad backed her up completely. It's time you learned what the real world costs, daughter. So let me get this straight. James's lack of responsibility meant he deserved a free ride, but my responsibility meant I deserved to pay premium rent to live in my childhood bedroom. The logic was so backwards it gave me whiplash, but I paid it every single month for 4 years. Worked 30+ hours a week while taking advanced economics, financial analysis, and business management courses. Lived on ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches while James called home asking for extra spending money because he wanted to take some girl to Red Lobster. I still remember overhearing Mom on the phone with him. "Of course, sweetie. I'll transfer $400 to your account. College should be fun, not stressful about money." Meanwhile, I'm literally doing homework in my car between work shifts because I couldn't afford the campus parking pass. The real kicker came during my junior year when James decided he wanted to change his major to sports management because communications was too hard. This required him to take an extra year of classes, adding another $38,000 to his already massive bill. Mom and Dad didn't even hesitate. Of course, James should follow his dreams. That same semester, I asked if they could help me pay for a financial planning certification course that would boost my career prospects. Cost, $350. Their response: "Marjorie, you're so good with money. We're sure you can figure out how to afford it yourself." I paid for that certification with money I'd saved from skipping meals. The insult to injury. They'd brag to their friends about how independent and responsible I was, like they'd done me some kind of favor by charging me rent. As if financial struggle was character building, but only for me. James graduated with a 2.1 GPA in sports management after 5 years. I graduated summa cum laude with a business degree and 4 job offers after 4 years. Guess whose graduation got the bigger celebration? If you guessed James's barely passed by the skin of his teeth ceremony, you'd be right. They threw him a huge party, invited all the relatives, and spent over $1,800 on catering. For mine, we went to Chili's. Just the 4 of us. And Dad insisted we split the check. After college, I moved out immediately into a studio apartment that was basically a glorified closet. But it was mine, and I didn't owe anyone anything for it. Spent the next decade grinding like my life depended on it. Worked for a few financial consulting firms, learned everything I could about investment strategies, started doing private consulting on the side. My specialty became helping small businesses optimize their finances and plan for growth. I had a knack for seeing inefficiencies and fixing them. Plus, I genuinely cared about helping people build wealth the right way. Word spread quickly in Austin's business community. By 28, I'd launched my own financial consulting firm. Started small, just me working out of my apartment, but I was good at what I did. Really good. Companies started paying serious money to have me analyze their operations and develop growth strategies. Within 3 years, I had 7 full-time employees and was pulling down more money than Dad made in his best years. James. Complete opposite trajectory. Bounced between marketing jobs, sales gigs, even tried being a personal trainer for a while. Nothing stuck. He'd get fired for showing up late, or quit because the work was beneath him, or get laid off when companies realized he didn't actually contribute anything productive. The pattern was always the same. James would get excited about a new job, talk about how this was finally his big break. Then within 3 to 6 months something would go wrong. It was never his fault, of course. The boss was unreasonable. The co-workers were jealous. The company was poorly managed. Never occurred to him that the common denominator in all these failures was him. Meanwhile, Mom and Dad kept making excuses. James just hasn't found the right fit yet. He's too creative for corporate environments. Around 26, James met Brittany at some trendy bar in downtown Austin. Brittany is, well, there's no polite way to say this, a walking, talking gold digger who saw James's pretty face and his parents' willingness to bankroll his life and decided she'd hit the jackpot. Brittany's one of those women who's never worked a real job but somehow always has perfectly manicured nails, designer purses, and opinions about how everyone else should spend their money. She got pregnant 3 months after meeting James. Whether on purpose or not, I'll leave to your imagination. They had a shotgun wedding that cost Mom and Dad $28,000, which they didn't have, followed by 2 more kids in quick succession. Now they've got 3 kids under 7. James still can't hold a job for more than 6 months, and Brittany spends her days on Instagram posting about how hard her life is while showing off whatever new thing Mom and Dad bought her. The bailouts became a monthly tradition. Car payments when James got fired again, rent money when they got eviction notices, credit card payments, medical bills, grocery money. They even funded James's brilliant idea to start a social media consulting business, which lasted about 2 months and accomplished nothing except burning through $7,000 of Mom and Dad's money. Kept my distance mostly. Showed up for holidays but never shared details about my business or income. Why would I? Every success I had was met with polite disinterest before the conversation immediately pivoted to James and Brittany's latest crisis or what the kids needed. The few times I did mention business milestones, landing a major client, hiring new staff, getting featured in Austin Business Journal, the response was always the same: "That's nice, Marjorie," followed immediately by, "James has been having such a hard time finding the right opportunity." I learned to just keep my mouth shut and focus on building my wealth. By 2023, my business was doing well enough that I was ready to buy a house. Not just any house. I wanted something that reflected all the work I'd put in. Started looking at places in the $400,000 range, which in Austin gets you something decent but not crazy. I should have known better than to let anyone in my family find out about it. The leak happened through my own stupidity. I was at a client meeting and mentioned house hunting to make small talk. Turns out my client's wife goes to the same yoga studio as Brittany. In a city of nearly 1 million people, what are the odds? The phone call started that same evening. "Marjorie, honey." Mom's voice was sickeningly sweet. "I heard you're looking to buy a house. How exciting. Why didn't you tell us?" I tried to play it down. "Just starting to look around, Mom. Nothing serious yet." "Well, James and Brittany and I have been talking, and we think this is such a wonderful opportunity. You'll want something with at least 4 bedrooms for when the kids visit, and a big backyard where they can play. Maybe even a pool." Brittany was just saying how the kids would love a pool. I felt my blood pressure spike. "Mom, I'm looking for a place for me. I don't need 4 bedrooms. Don't be silly, Marjorie. Family is the most important thing. You'll want space for James and Brittany and the kids to come stay. And for your father and me to visit too. We could help you look. Brittany has such excellent taste." The audacity was breathtaking. I'd been living independently for over a decade, built a successful business, and saved responsibly for years to afford this house. But somehow Brittany, who'd never earned an honest dollar in her life, had excellent taste that I apparently needed. The next 2 weeks were a relentless assault of text messages, emails, and Zillow links. Not regular houses, mansions. 5 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms, massive lots, finished basements, 3-car garages. Every message highlighting features specifically designed for James's family. "Marjorie, look at this one. The basement is perfect for James to set up his home office. This house has a wonderful playroom area for the kids. The master suite has a sitting room where Brittany could film her makeup tutorials." They weren't even pretending this was about me anymore. Brittany started sending me direct messages about how excited she was to help decorate our new family space, and asking if I'd considered adding a hot tub. Our family space. A house I hadn't even bought yet with money I'd earned was already ours in her mind. Every listing they sent was at least $200,000 over my budget. When I pointed this out, Mom's response was, "Oh, Marjorie, with your business doing so well, I'm sure you can afford it. Besides, it's an investment. Property values always go up, right? An investment in housing James's family rent-free while I paid the mortgage, property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. What could go wrong?" The breaking point came when James called me directly, all excited. "Marjorie, Mom showed us this amazing place on Zillow. 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, huge kitchen. It's perfect for all of us. Brittany's already planning how to set up the kids' rooms." "James, I'm not buying a house for all of us. I'm buying a house for me." "Yeah, but we're family, right? And it's not like you need all that space just for yourself. This way, the kids can have their own rooms when they stay over. Brittany and I won't be cramped. Mom and Dad can visit whenever they want. It's like a win-win." I realized they weren't just expecting me to buy a house. They were expecting me to buy their house and let them live in it. The entitlement was breathtaking. "James, who's paying for this house?" "Well, you are, but..." "And who's going to pay the mortgage every month?" "You, but Marjorie, we're talking about family here. We'd help out when we could." "When you could? You can't even pay your own rent consistently." I hung up on him. I stopped responding to their messages and kept looking on my own. Found exactly what I wanted about 3 weeks later. A modern 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood about 40 minutes from my parents. Perfect home office, 2-car garage, decent yard, and most importantly, space for exactly one person to live comfortably. Put in an offer and closed within a month. Kept the whole thing completely secret from my family. I knew Mom was planning a big Thanksgiving dinner. She'd been talking about it for weeks, insisting everyone had to be there for a special announcement. I had a pretty good idea what the announcement would be. Them revealing which mansion they'd picked out for me and expecting me to commit to buying it. The whole family was there when I arrived. James and Brittany's 3 kids running around screaming, Brittany on her phone ignoring them while complaining about how tired she was, James on the couch watching the Cowboys game, Mom bustling around the kitchen making way too much food, Dad pretending to help but mostly just drinking Budweiser. Dinner conversation was predictable. James complaining about his latest job. Some sales position he'd probably get fired from within months. Brittany talking about how expensive everything was and how hard it was to find good childcare. The kids being loud and disruptive while their parents ignored them. I sat there watching this chaos and felt nothing but relief that I'd be going home to my quiet, clean, organized house where nobody screamed, broke things, or expected me to fix their problems. After dinner, while the kids were finally quiet watching Disney+, Mom stood up and clinked her wine glass. "Everyone, I have such exciting news. We found the perfect house for Marjorie." James and Brittany immediately perked up, grinning like they'd won the lottery. Brittany actually clapped her hands together. "It's absolutely beautiful," Mom continued, pulling out printed Zillow listings. 5 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, finished basement, 3-car garage, and the most wonderful backyard for the children. The listing showed a $620,000 McMansion in an upscale suburb. Exactly the kind of house that screamed, "I have more money than sense," and would cost a fortune to heat, cool, and maintain. "The kitchen is incredible," Brittany chimed in like she was already planning to live there. "Perfect for hosting family dinners. And there's this gorgeous master suite that would be perfect for, well, whoever ends up in there." She gave me this weird wink that made my skin crawl. James nodded enthusiastically. "The basement would be perfect for my gaming setup and maybe a home gym. And that 3-car garage means plenty of space for my project truck." His project truck was a 1998 Ford F-150 with 180,000 miles that he'd been restoring for 2 years. Mostly, it sat in my parents' driveway leaking oil. They had it all planned out. In their minds, I was buying a family compound and they were all moving in. Brittany was already talking about which bedrooms would be perfect for the kids and how she could set up a craft room. "We even drove by it last weekend," Mom said proudly. "The neighborhood is so family-friendly. There's a playground just 3 blocks away, and the elementary school has an excellent rating." Dad joined in. "Daughter, this is a real opportunity. Housing market's hot right now, but a place like this is an investment that'll pay off for generations. Your kids will thank you someday." My kids. I wasn't even dating anyone seriously. I let them finish their presentation, watching their excitement build. James was already talking about which bedroom would be his office. Brittany was planning holiday decorations. Mom was discussing how we could convert the basement into an apartment for her and Dad when they got older. Then I smiled and dropped my bomb. That's interesting, but there's something I need to tell you all. I already bought a house. The room went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Their faces went through this amazing progression. Confusion, disbelief, then slowly dawning horror. What do you mean? Mom's voice was sharp. I mean, I bought a house. Closed on it 2 weeks ago. I'm moving in this weekend. The explosion was immediate. Everyone started talking at once. Brittany was the loudest. What kind of house? Where is it? How many bedrooms? It's a 3-bedroom house about 40 minutes from here. Perfect for me. The meltdown was instant and spectacular. Brittany started screaming about how 3 bedrooms wasn't enough space for family. James was yelling about how I'd made this huge decision without consulting the people it affects. Mom was guilt-tripping me about family loyalty and how disappointed she was. But the real kicker came when Brittany showed her true colors. This is so selfish, Marjorie. What about the kids? What about us? You make all this money and you can't even think about your family. James and I have been struggling, the apartment is way too small. And this was our chance to finally have some stability. Your chance? I asked calmly. What exactly did you contribute to buying this house, Brittany? I'm family now. Family helps family. You have all this money just sitting around while we can barely afford rent. So because I worked hard and saved money, I'm obligated to house you. Yes, that's what family does. The entitlement was staggering. In Brittany's mind, my success created an automatic debt to James's failures. That's when James dropped the real bombshell. Actually, Marjorie, our lease is up at the end of the month and we can't afford to renew it. The landlord raised the rent to $1,900 and I'm between jobs right now. We were counting on moving in with you. There it was. They weren't just dreaming about a family compound. They were literally homeless in 3 weeks and had decided I was their solution without asking, without even telling me until this moment. That sounds like a personal problem, I said calmly. The screaming match that followed was epic, but I held firm. 3 months later, reality hit hard. My Uncle Paul called with the truth. Mom and Dad had bankrupted themselves bailing out James, losing their house in the process. But I had learned something valuable. Sometimes the best revenge isn't refusing to help. It's helping on your own terms. Today they all work for me, live in a property I own and follow my rules. James texts me every month thanking me for saving the family. What they don't understand is that I didn't save them. Bought them. And now they finally understand what accountability looks like. It's exactly what they deserve, and exactly what I always knew I'd end up with. Complete control over my own life, and there's too. Best investment I ever made.